Most of us realize that the UFO phenomena is something that even though we can see these objects, we can't see them. We are viewing something we don't yet understand. The government of the United States are openly telling us now that they don't know what is going on. All we can do is monitor these extraterrestrial craft. We, as a civilization, are being buzzed by another species right before our very eyes, right in our own backyard. You have to ask the question, what's going on? Just wait to hear this. The interest in UFO phenomena has been part of human curiosity, perhaps for thousands of years now, but it was only when we started to take flight ourselves that we started to notice that these things had been here all along on Earth with us for as long as we have been conscious. An overwhelming interest exists on this world regarding this subject, and only 20-30 years ago, you were considered crazy for believing that another civilization, more advanced than we are, existed on this earth alongside us. Is it possible that there is co-inhabitation of our home world? Let's look at the rise of technology in the years surrounding and leading up to the Second World War, and in particularly, let us look at Germany, the great war machine that seemingly knew things of higher purpose, but inevitably fell flat on its face. But what went on in this socially corrupt society during this period in history has led to much speculation of all things that the human mind seeks the answers to. And yes, we are talking about ancient secrets mixed in with an alien presence. Is it possible that what the Nazis were searching for is the very same thing that these alien presence is after as well? What was happening in Germany during this period was a collective effort to develop this technology, and indeed the sources of such advancements were not the typical acquirement of knowledge that you may expect. Austrian forest caretaker and naturalist Viktor Schauberger had previously made what we would call quantum advancements in the understanding of machine technology and indeed anti-gravity material. Rudolf Hess ordered the detention of the great scientist, and he was forcefully put to work on the development of the machine we now call UFO or flying saucers. The discovery that Viktor Schauberger made really should have been for the greater good of humanity, but instead these advancements have been secretly suppressed even to this day. What he discovered was something that is now known as vortex mechanics. He made these discoveries through the observation of water vortexes and became fascinated by the way water purified itself through the process of whirlpooling and streaming. He pioneered the vortex technology through these understandings. Consider the behavior of salmon going upstream against the natural force of the water. Schauberger determined this was possible through something he called implosion vortexes that was created by the way the water was spinning. He then developed turbines to replicate this momentum. He then encased this device in an egg-shaped enclosure and essentially created an anti-gravity engine that was powered by water. This later became known as the repulsing, and the Nazis tried to generate the flying saucer from this technology. Schauberger believed that birds did not fly, but they were flown, and all that we had to do to replicate this was to tap into the ether around about us in order to achieve this movement. The journey of this process is dated back to 18th century Prussia, where an overwhelming interest existed in airship and anti-gravity technology. Could it really be that the development of these things was actually the dawn to the finding of ancient text and blueprints? And could it be that the search for other ancient materials and text by the Germans in the 20s and 30s was an attempt to track down this lost and ancient knowledge? Would it surprise you if we were to tell you that Austro-Hungarian physicist Hermann Oberth, who is considered the founding father of modern rocketry and astronautics, actually states that we have been helped by the people of other worlds? It inevitably leads back to the ancient Hindu texts in Vimana, where they describe Mercury as being the ancient power source of these ancient craft. Consider using mercury instead of water in Viktor Schauberger's Vortex engine. This puts these science fiction type of machines well within the realms of possibilities when applying this to the realistic theories of this brilliant inventor. The mercury would create a gyroscopic action, introduce electricity to these principles, and it becomes a plasma of electrified gas that is spinning in a gyroscopic movement. Science has used gyroscopes for years as examples of artificial gravity and indeed anti-gravity. Any craft with these mechanics as the engine would with ease defy gravity and movement, especially with the inclusion of mercury electrified into the vortex. And the strange and interesting thing about this is the creation of light. It would be extremely bright. Does this ring any bells, guys? A spinning saucer craft with a lit up engine area. Do UFOs still seem so far-fetched that it is beyond the realms of possibility? It's no coincidence that Germany tried to develop this type of craft. They were obsessed with the ancients and indeed finding ancient text and technology. The ancients themselves were obsessed with Mercury. All over the world we see the presence of Mercury in ancient culture. The Vimana text in particularly has clear in-depth mentions of Mercury. It was not only important in ancient times, it was essential, especially in the use of technologies. Technology that, by the way, we don't even give them credit for even having. Consider the fact that mercury can poison and kill you. You need to handle this metal with extreme care. The fumes alone are deadly. So getting this into a vortex chamber and then electrifying it in an engine is something that would have been done in a controlled environment. There is a mystery, and even the Greek god Mercury is the god of flight and communication, suggesting that even the ancient Greeks understood that Mercury, flight, and technology were very closely associated with each other. Anyway, guys, we will leave it at that for the moment. By the way, it's interesting to note that the technology developed through this Vortex engine and the electrification of Mercury within the gyroscopic action led to the creation of die Glocke, or the bell, which is considered by many to have been able to defy gravity and even intersect through space and time. It's interesting to note that the device was photographed but never recovered in the aftermath of World War II, suggesting that it was successfully launched. Could it have pierced the space-time continuum into a different reality or realm, or indeed into the future? What do you guys think of this anyway? Does it make sense when closely considering the facts? Whatever the truth may be, the facts do, in fact, outweigh the conspiracy in most cases. No longer can they tell us that we are crazy simply because we question the past. Time to wake up. Thank you for watching.